And welcome to our Hamilton County Board of Commission meeting on October 27th, 2022. I am Commissioner Alicia Reese. I'm the Vice President of the Commission, and I'm going to ask the Commission, everybody on the dais to introduce themselves.
Thanks, Commissioner. Bridget Doherty, Communications Manager.
Leslie Hervey, Clerk to the Board, and I'd like to introduce our new Assistant Clerk.
Christy Richel.
Welcome.
Welcome. I'm County Commissioner Denise Treehouse.
Okay. All right. We have a special presentation, but before that, I'm going to ask everyone to have a silent prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. And we do this with all of the violence and particularly babies that tragically dying. I just ask for you to keep a special prayer for them. Thank you.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to excuse President Stephanie Summerall Dumas, who is still recovering from COVID.
Second.
Commissioner Reese.
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes.
Okay. We're going to move forward. We do have a special proclamation for the passing of Pat Tribby, but we're waiting for his daughter to arrive. So I'm going to make a motion to approve the minutes of the previous session.
Second.
Commissioner Reese.
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes.
I'm going to go to public comment. We've got one public comment, Nick Tolbert. And you have the floor for 2 minutes.
Something only one, let me have about 4 or 5. Hey, I ain't got nothing but good news. You know, the project that I told you about, you know, the pandemic really did hurt these restaurants. They really did. I didn't know it was that bad until people like a lot of the chefs around town was telling me about it. Jason Dunn from the Visitor Bureau was telling me about it. People have just been telling me about how bad it really is. And so they said that that radio show that I did years ago was 20 years ahead of its time. So we definitely bringing it back, presented it to the city of Cincinnati. Everybody on the board going to do it. Why? Because it's going to put money back in the budget. Most people, when they come down to get money, don't put money back. This will put money back in the budget. And it looks like the way it's looking, you guys might not have to do anything. And what's happening is we got an apprenticeship program that we're putting on, and I'm hoping you guys would contribute to that. And what it does is when these people come out of the restaurants, just like they did at CIA where I went, they automatically went to the restaurants and worked on the apprenticeship program. The president of Cincinnati State, she loved the idea. So we're going to be having students from there. So the people in these restaurants, they got bodies. They come right out of the school. We got about 4 or 5 schools here. We're going to hook up with all of them, and they're going to come from the schools right into the restaurants. And then, like I said again, we're going to target the area because they can't afford to advertise anymore. The newspapers are using the internet, and the internet is not going to section them out to the area. This show is going to do that. That's what dining entertainment is going. It's going to target it out. When I go in there and I'm talking about the food, I tell you somebody who's coming on, Chef Paul Sturkey. He's coming with me. You know, people from channel WLW, they all want to come on there. So, you know, it's going to be really good.
Well, congratulations.
Yep.
Thank you for sharing that with
Yeah.
us. And tell Chef Sturkey we said hello.
All right, I will.
Okay.
All right.
Now we've got 2 other speakers, but I'd like to move to the special presentation of a proclamation. We got some terrible news and lost a major giant in our community, in our county, who has dedicated their entire life to mental health before it became acceptable, before we were talking about it, and was really one of the people that helped us to make it acceptable. It's okay to talk about, to get rid of the stigma. But he was down in the trenches and made it where people can talk about it, can get help, and has been an expert leader for this county on that issue of mental health. Commissioner Dreehouse has a proclamation, and I want to turn it over to her to read, and then we'll present the proclamation.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. Losing Pat Tribby is a huge loss for this community. I know you all feel it. We've got the team from the Mental Health and Recovery Services Board here. Pat's daughter, Jessica, is here. Board members are here. Tom Gableman is here. But as Commissioner Reese said, Pat Tribby was talking about mental health and addiction issues in this community long before any of the rest of us were on that path. And he lived this every day. He understood the needs of this community, and he responded and dedicated his professional life to helping people that had challenges with mental health and addiction issues. So we've lost a giant in the field. I've lost a friend. Pat was one of the founding members of the Hamilton County Addiction Response Coalition, and he was really a forerunner in that and many other things in this community. So I'm going to read through. It's a resolution of condolence, and thank you all for being here. And then I'm going to offer it to Jessica, since she's with us in the audience. Our sincerest condolences to you. So it's a memorial proclamation in honor of Mental Health and Recovery Services Board President and CEO, Mr. Patrick Tribby. Whereas Pat Tribby was a steadfast and iconic leader in the mental health and addiction services community for over 5 decades. And whereas Pat Tribby came to Cincinnati in March of 1997 as the CEO of the Hamilton County Mental Health Board, which later merged under Pat's leadership with the Alcohol and Drug Addiction Services Board to become the current Hamilton County Mental Health and Recovery Services Board. And whereas Pat Tribby's leadership transformed the way Hamilton County delivers and manages mental health and addiction programs and helped make the MHRSB a model in Ohio in delivering services to those individuals and families who are dealing with mental health or addiction issues. And whereas Pat Tribby crafted new collaborations and partnerships, strategically investing scarce resources, using data to drive planning and marked improvement in the delivery of services in our community. And whereas Pat Tribby was a founding member of HCARC in 2015, it was called the Heroin Coalition, now called HCARC. Among other initiatives, he led efforts to open the Engagement Center to provide quick access for treatment to those who are ready to embark upon their recovery. And whereas Pat Tribby's passionate caring impacted not only thousands of individuals who experience mental health and addiction issues, but also their families, friends, those who serve them and the communities in which they lived. And whereas Pat Tribby was a strong and compassionate voice for those in our community that oftentimes walk in the shadows. Whereas we will greatly miss Pat, his vision, his pioneering spirit, his collaborative nature, and his dedication. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Hamilton County Board of County Commissioners recognizes the significant contribution of Pat Tribby and what it has meant to Hamilton County, and does hereby honor his legacy through our remembrance of him. Signed by all 3 county commissioners. Do you want to say a word?
Would you like to say a word, or you don't have to, but would you? We don't want to put you, if you don't feel comfortable.
Okay.
I wasn't prepared to say anything, but I do just want to say thank you so much. This is a really beautiful testament to my dad. We've been teasing my dad about retiring for a very long time. As his daughter, I've been asking him to, but really and truly, he did not want to. This was not just a job for him. This was his passion. And that, I think that says a lot about how much it meant to him. So I really appreciate it on behalf of my family. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to come around. I know there's several people here that known Pat very much, and if you would like to say a word, we welcome the opportunity if you'd like to say something. Tom, do you want to say?
Whoops. There you go.
something?
Mic drop. Well, first of all, thanks to the board very much. I think all of you that have known Pat for the years that he has worked in this field. And it was literally just a couple of months ago in this, very room. I think it was, my memory says August 4th. We had a packed room because we had the levy renewals on the ballot. And Pat and I and the rest of the mental health board and staff were in attendance. And it was kind of funny because Madam President Dumas had just scolded me for failing to wear my mask in the back of the room, and Pat was getting a kick out of that. But I have to say to you, in all honesty, and I've worked with Pat for 20 plus years, that was one of the happiest moments when all three of the commissioners voted in favor of the increase in levy, to put that on the ballot and to let the voters vote in favor of that. So that was very significant. Pat took great joy in that. As his daughter Jessica indicated, for literally over a decade, Pat was working on a one-year contract. And each year we would meet with Pat to determine whether or not he wanted to extend his contract, and he did. And just this past July, we extended his contract an additional year into 2023 because it was his passion. And all of the accomplishments that the board has talked about here, are very significant. They made major changes in our community, and that 5 decades of experience made a real difference. To have the mental health court, the drug court, to combine services with the alcohol and drug addiction with mental health was something that Pat really fostered and made a difference. And we look at all of that, but the most significant thing, and I have to say in all the years, he is one of the most humble persons that I've ever worked with. He didn't care about getting credit. It was, what can we do to make a difference? And I think that's his legacy. It's a legacy of leadership, I think, for all of us. Those of you that worked with him, that he went through his days with grace and wisdom to make a difference. And that's a legacy that we carry on with this board and certainly with Jessica as we go forward. And we certainly appreciate the board recognizing his life and his legacy. So thank you.
Thank you very much. It's always, I think, great when you can find your calling. Some people go through life all the time and don't know what their calling is. And Pat knew his calling. And 5 decades, mental health and drug addiction and alcohol addiction, it transformed, and he was part of that transformation. And so certainly he will always be remembered for the work that he has done and the people that he has helped. I'm sure there's people out there who wouldn't be here today without his work. So thank you all, and we will keep it going. And I would say that, even though he wasn't feeling well, he was here to try to make sure that others can get the help that they need. So if you want to keep his legacy going, we've got it on the ballot. If he was here, he would be out there probably at the Board of Elections trying to get people to vote for mental health services. So thank you all. You had anything else?
Significant number of folks here from Mental Health and Recovery Services. And I know Pat meant a great deal to everybody in the room. So thank you all for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. And prayers with you and the family. God bless. We'll go back to public comments. We have Dan, Reginald. Is that on the, it's on the Zoom. Hello,
Hi, Mike.
hello, welcome.
Hi.
You have 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. My condolences to the Tribby family. I want to speak to you today about transparency. My name is Dan Reganold. For the past several years, an education group that I run, Empower You America, has asked that groups with county levies come to our meetings and present the facts about their levy and take questions from the audience. On about August 17th, we contacted the representative for the Mental Health Recovery and Services Board, Jen Saltmuller, and asked him to arrange a presentation on the levy on issue 9 at our meeting on October 13th. For 2 months, we corresponded with Saltmuller about this presentation. One day before the event, Saltmuller canceled the board appearance. Mr. Saltmuller clearly led on our group. He wasted a lot of people's time. There's a big board and executive management team, one less I'm sorry to hear about, and staff at the mental health area. But heck, they could have sent somebody to answer a few questions at our group. It just appears that they didn't want to, or Mr. Saltmuller didn't want them to. His approach to canceling 24 hours before the event reminds me of a couple other county levy presentations that we've tried to arrange over the last 4 years. As these levies get bigger and bigger, hey, whatever happened to 6% increases? Groups like the library, the park board, the bus system are increasingly unwilling to come to the public and take questions. The transparency becomes less and less. I believe it's your jobs as commissioners to hold the levy requests in line. And I hold Eric Stewart accountable for transparency on this levy on issue 9 to the voters, to the citizens. And I'm hoping you're working to help residents stay in their homes and keep the property and other taxes from continuing to soar. Large levy increases just send the wrong signal to voters time after time. I ask, when you're reviewing these levies, are you telling the levy requesters that they need to be transparent with the public? I'm not getting that message. The Mental Health Recovery and Services Board conduct with my organization, Empower You, reflects poorly on the county. And just
Thank you.
Who
I'm
is
sorry.
James Saltmuller and who's paying his salary? Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry, your time is up. Thank you. Thank you. Our next one, we do have town hall meetings, but we'll talk about that, I guess, later. Carrie Davis.
Hello, I did raise my hand to speak about the loss of Mr. Treby, but and so I'd like to start off with that and then do my public comments. I had the opportunity to work with him on one project in my 20 years of advocacy, and he was an incredible man from the nonprofit sector's point of view, and as persons needing services. He gave voices to so many people, and his legacy appears to me be from one voice, we gained thousands of voices of persons who were afflicted and the families that supported them and the nonprofits that advocated for them. So it is a tremendous loss of a hero in our community with his passing. It's really sad to see someone like that lost, but his legacy lives on in the voices of thousands of people who followed his call. That said, on my public comments, I would like to say that 2 weeks ago, you all passed a resolution completely reversing your position, advocating for the community and environmental justice. Lisa Wynn presented, and with the voice of 1,700 residents of Hamilton County behind her, she asked you all to look at the Ohio County Commissioners Association's legal opinion and pamphlet on how their powers and duties related to solid waste. And I am hoping by this time, all three commissioners have in fact at least gleamed through that booklet and have asked yourself the question of why is the legal opinion of the Ohio County Commissioners Association, why is their opinion so opposite of what Pam Sears and Joe Dieter's office has been telling the commissioners related to liability of committee members for legal actions, the authority of the Board of Commissioners to appoint and approve people on the committee, on the
Ms.
authority.
Davis, I'm sorry. We're gonna have to wrap up. I apologize because
Well, I
per card, they only give you 2 minutes per the rules, and I had to cut off the person before you. So can you wrap it up, please?
Yeah, well, I'm sorry. I did raise my hand to speak about that gentleman, but they ignored me and they blocked me, so I could not chat and let them know I wanted to say something.
Oh,
About-
okay. Well, I don't think they would try to block you, but
Well, it is.
can you
blocked.
wrap it? You think you can wrap it up in a minute?
So I would like before your next meeting for each commissioner to please explain to the public why we are following the advice of Pam Sears and Joe Dieters, who accepted $10,000 from Rumpke's attorney as a campaign contribution, and why you are ignoring the legal advice and opinion of the Ohio County Commissioners Association that clearly is the opposite of what the county prosecutor's office has advised you, and that you rescind your resolution.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, now we're on comments from the commission. Just wanted to give a few things. I think Commissioner Dreehouse will elaborate a little bit more, but we had a very important press conference this past Monday for the Recovery Friendly Hamilton County Workplace Signing Day. We have had some critical signing days. I mean, we had a signing day for equal pay, and now we've got a signing day of those in the private sector who are willing to partner with us, including Hamilton County, to have a friendly workplace as it relates to recovery. And we had some great real life experiences. And it was just amazing that this was happening on Monday. The week before, I had talked about when I went to get something to eat and I thought I had a rough day. And I went into the Waffle House and no one was there. It's never like that. It was in the evening and one of the cooks was there and one of the waitresses. And then I said, let's put the jukebox on. It's been a tough day. Put some music on. And we put the music on. I let them choose the songs and we had a great time, but it allowed them to begin to open up to me. And I said, man, you guys have such a great personality. They said, oh, we've got to do a double. And I said, what do you mean? You're leaving here, going to another Waffle House to work all night? They said, yeah. And we stay in the hotel during the week. And then on the days we're off, we get to go home and we got family helping us with our children. And they said, I said, wow. And I come in here and you have such a great personality, customer service. And then with tears in their eyes, they said to me, you don't know where we've been. We've been below the bottom and we're climbing out. And we're just so thankful for this opportunity to work here. And we're so proud of ourselves because they had come from addiction. And they said, my children don't like that I work all the time, but we tell them we have to do what we have to do. And the cook then hit the waitress, said, hey, don't get into that. You're going to make me start crying and you don't need to tell her that. And I said, no, you're not bothering me. And I said, in fact, you helped me because what I thought was a rough day turned out to be a blessed day because I got a chance to talk to both of you with no interruptions. And so we have people out here who are below the bottom and trying to crawl out of the bottom. And so initiatives like what we did on Monday with the partnerships of public sector, nonprofit sector, private sector, to make it friendly. So when you go to work, there's somebody that kind of understands your plight and what you have to do to even get to the job, let alone do the job. And so Monday was a great thing. And Commissioner Dreehouse will talk, I know, more extensively of it. Also, I was one of the speakers that got a chance to speak at the State of Metro 2022. And this was a conference. They had Senator Sherrod Brown was there, as well as representative from the Federal Transportation Group was there. And Senator Brown talked about all these dollars that's coming because of the infrastructure bill and opportunities that we'll have that we have never had. And we've done great getting grants. And I know our engineer is here to talk about that and partnerships with public transit, but also understanding that public transit and infrastructure go hand in hand. And I learned that when I was at the state. I was the ranking member of transportation on the finance committee and learned a whole lot. It was very instrumental in the MLK exchange. And for many, I was just excited that we were able to get this exchange. It was the first new highway exit in the whole state of Ohio, and at that time in an urban city. But the next part is what we get excited about. One, it helped people get to the hospital at shorter times and could save lives. But then we create this whole new innovation corridor with jobs and investment, and also with public transit. And it drew the attention of the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, who came and could have met anywhere and said, we're going to meet here because of what you guys were able to do as it relates to infrastructure. We were able to do the Western Hill Viaduct. We've been talking about it for years and years and years and years, and we actually can get it done now. So we talked about that and other things, but Senator Brown said there's more money out there. So Mr. Engineer, there's more money out there. And I said, well, we got to get our hands on it, because if we could bring more outside money, we could reduce the cost of folks here, but also provide the services. So very excited about that. Also, we have an election and early vote has started. I wanted to just reiterate to folks, early vote goes from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday of this week. But then this is the first Saturday that you can early vote, and first Saturday that you can early vote, I'm sorry. And that's 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. So want to make sure you get those dates. You can go to the Hamilton County Board of Elections website to get the times so that you could get over there and get out and vote and express yourself. So those are the things that I think that I have. And today we had a fantastic press conference. I want to congratulate Judge Sanders and all of the folks from here at her office that worked on the grant, and to have this Chief Justice coming down to Hamilton County, not coming down to put a hammer on anything, not coming down to be upset about anything, but come down to talk about bringing some money. And this is really good. We are a leader in the country. And I want to really thank Judge Nicole Sanders, because she came in and she said, I'm going to reach out. I'm going to get aggressive. I'm going to write to Chief Justice. I'm going to make sure they know what we're doing. I'm going to reach out and try to bring more funds in. And so we had a wonderful press conference today. And I know also, I know that Commissioner Dree also talked about it. I want to give a congratulations to the AFL-CIO on their annual Coke dinner. Had a chance to attend that, and want to say that Cleola Brown, the great national leader, Cleola Brown, was the keynote speaker, and it was a great event at the UAW Hall, and some great food. So that's all I have. Commissioner Dreehouse?
Thank you. Yeah, lots of overlap as usual with the things that we have both attended. I did want to talk a little bit about the recovery friendly workplace, a collaboration between public health and the county through the Hamilton County Addiction Response Coalition, where we have a business committee, and we have talked to them as well as the other groups that are part of that coalition to say, you know, what are the gaps? What are the holes? How can we get people on the road to recovery? And something that always comes up is employment, transportation, childcare, employment, and housing. And so we looked to the business committee and said, you know, how can we do better with employers to make sure that we're retaining and keeping employees that are in recovery? And so this initiative was sprung from that. Hamilton County Public Health took it and ran with it. And I applaud their work on it. They have really put a model in place that businesses can replicate. And so we had a celebration of that and a signing with all those folks there the other day. And so, as you say, it was nonprofit, public, private, business owners pledging to have a recovery-friendly workplace where we offer supports for people that might need them during the workday or even outside the workday. So I was glad to be part of that. And I do want to applaud HCA ARC and Public Health for putting that together. It was a real celebration of what we can do in this community and encouraging other businesses to join. I was especially touched by the guy who runs a business and is also in recovery. And so it was a special moment for him as well as for the rest of us. I also was going to talk about the press conference today with Judge Sanders and Judge O'Connor from the Supreme Court. That was a big celebration about what Nicole Sanders, the judge, has been working on ever since she got into office, bringing some dollars down to Hamilton County for addiction response and treatment. We have an item on our agenda. I'll talk about it when we get to it, but item number 5 is not only that grant coming into the county, but many other grants coming into the county. And so we've had quite a bit of success in bringing money into the county to try to meet people in recovery where they are and help them through the recovery process. So I'll speak about that later when we get to the consent agenda. But again, congratulations to Judge Sanders and her team for making that a reality. And many on our team had something to do with that too, but we'll get to that in a minute. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Dreehouse. I wanted to add, I forgot, One Ohio. We had our subcommittee today. I'm on the prevention subcommittee. And we had our subcommittee today, and some great ideas coming out. One that even goes beyond just One Ohio, but a youth summit and countywide. So looking forward to those ideas with the Office of Youth. And I forgot to also say, I know we talked about Blink last week, but I forgot to mention that I had someone track me down and told me that National Travel Magazine was in town, and they were looking for the Black Music Walk of Fame. They thought it was done already. And I said, well, get their number. We want to invite them back. I wanted to let people know the July 22nd is the grand opening. So we're moving toward that, but it's good to know that Travel Magazine is looking for us. And I'm excited about that. So that was really good news. So Holly, anything?
Yes, thank you, Madam Vice President. I would first like to also send my condolences and sympathies to Pat Tribby's family and his family at the Mental Health Board. I had the opportunity to work with Pat for a short amount of time when we were deciding what to do with our American Rescue Plan dollars. And it is because of his leadership and his active participation on that group that the board recently passed the expanded mobile crisis unit to 24/7. So it is no doubt that Pat's legacy, as we have all said today, will live on in his great work with mental health. So I'm grateful to have been able to work with him for a little bit of time. I'd also like to congratulate the team at Environmental Services. They held their household hazardous waste collection event last weekend, and over 1,000 cars came through to drop off pesticides, fertilizers, chemicals, to get them out of their house, out of the waste stream. And from all accounts, it was extremely well organized and well-run event. So I want to congratulate the team on that. So no other comments. We do have 3 by leaves. You'd like me to walk through those?
Yes, please walk through.
Okay. So the first by leave in your packet is a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the auditor. Administration does recommend approval, and Assistant Administrator John Brugan is in the room if there are any specific questions.
Okay. Do you have any questions, Commissioner Trias? I don't have any additional questions. I make a motion to adopt by leave number 1.
Second.
Commissioner Reese?
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse?
Yes.
Great. And the last 2 by leaves relate to resolutions for Job and Family Services. The first is a resolution authorizing a renewal with rights of passage. This would be a renewal through June 30th of 2023. Administration recommends approval.
Okay. Commissioner Dreehouse, would you like to comment on this one?
I am ready to support both by leave 2 and 3 and look forward to a much more lengthy conversation related to how we address the needs of our youth moving forward after the beginning of the year.
Yes, I would agree with you on that. We move forward now, but we've got to be moving in a different type of direction going forward. I'd like to make a motion to pass by leave 2 and 3.
Second.
Commissioner Reese?
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse?
Yes.
Anything else, Howard?
Nothing further. Thank you.
Okay, so now we'll go to our regular agenda. And of course, we've got our engineer here. Welcome back.
Good afternoon. Just one item today. This is a resolution awarding a contract to the lowest and best bidder, Dad's Bobcat, for the 2022 sidewalk repair replacement program, which is project 502201. Dad's Bobcat was the low bidder with a bid of $59,419. Our engineer's estimate was $63,530. And just to refresh your memory, this is the sidewalk contract that we talked about early in the year. We went through the prosecutor's office and administration, got some recommendations. We went ahead with this contract. We bid it out once. All the bids were more than 10% above the engineer's estimate. We revised our estimate, rebid it, and this is the rebidding, and it is within the legal limits to award the contract.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Beck. Any questions? I make a motion to adopt item number 1.
Second.
Commissioner Reese.
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes.
Thank
Thank
Mr.
you.
Beck.
Thanks, Eric.
That was easy. Our next is MSD.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Lauren DeGarcia with MSD. I also have Jack Rennekamp and Matt Spaderi with me this afternoon. We have one item on your agenda, which is related to the CSO 83 and 472 Dynamic Underflow Control Project. This request before you today is for additional construction funding in the amount of $994,000. Which is necessary to rebid this consent decree bridge project that will reduce combined sewer overflows by an anticipated 23 million gallons per year. The board previously appropriated $3,726,100 for construction based on the original engineer's estimate of cost to construct. MSD advertised for bids and did receive 2, one which exceeded the estimate by 23% and one by 27%. Since MSD cannot, under Ohio law, similar to the engineer, award a construction contract that exceeds the engineer's estimate by more than 10%, MSD has now revised and increased the engineer's estimate based on the bids that we received. And we are requesting additional funds consistent with that revised estimate. This increase will bring the total estimated cost to construct this project to $4,720,100. The most significant factor in the difference between the original estimate and the bids we received was material costs for concrete, metal, steel, piping, and electrical components. The costs ranged from 35 to 200% higher than originally estimated. These increased costs are attributable to higher fuel costs and supply chain uncertainties impacting the market conditions. And these increased material costs have been incorporated in the revised estimate. So with that, we recommend adoption and can take any questions at this time.
Okay, thank you. Is this one of the consent decree projects?
Correct. It's a consent decree WIP project and specifically one of the bridge projects.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Dreehouse?
You have a question, because it's a bridge project. I'm just curious to know, when was the original estimate arrived at? What year was that?
I will confirm with
Yeah.
Matt, who's here, but I believe it was, well, actually, I'll just turn to him.
I'm trying to better understand what to expect in the future, because I don't know how old this estimate was, but if it was fairly old, then I get the inflationary costs. If it was relatively recent, then I'm way more concerned about what we might be looking at in the future. Sure.
Excuse me.
Good afternoon. For this specific project, the estimate was prepared in October 2021, so just about a year ago. So the challenging year that we've all experienced is, as Lauren outlined, is, in my opinion, kind of factored into this.
Okay.
The uncertainties we've experienced are when we came for the original, what was it, 3.7 million plus or minus was last December
Okay.
of 21.
Well, and the bridge projects were put in place before that.
When this project
Yeah.
was started, correct.
Yeah.
This project, the bridge itself came about, I believe, in 2018.
Okay, I'm just trying to understand what we are going to be looking at by way of increased costs and how many times we're going to have this kind of thing in front of us. And the delays are costly. I guess is the other learning here with all projects, any kind of capital project we do. So the sooner the better, as we all know, with all of these projects, particularly the bridge projects. But I just want to get an understanding of the timing.
And I understand
Thank
you.
you.
All right, thanks.
Are you okay with
Yeah.
it? Okay, I make a motion to adopt item number 2.
Second,
Commissioner Reese.
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to the consent agenda. I've got one thing in the future, Leslie, on the consent agendas. We don't put the contractors' names, we put the subject matter. So this should be economic development on item, instead of alloy development in the future. So item number 3 is a resolution concurring with the recommendations of the 2022 Tax Incentive Review Councils of Enterprise Zones and Community Reinvestment Areas administered by Hamilton County. And we have I know we're gonna, Commissioner Dreehouse will talk a little bit about a change that was necessary. Item number 4 comes from the auditor's office. It's the auditor's statement of financial transactions for September 2022. And that's just to be received for the record. Item number 5 is a budget adjustment, new fund resolution, and for addiction response at Clerk of Courts Help Center grants and engineer improvements to Kemper Road Bridge for $6,358,942.13. Most of it being grants coming in. And we talked a little bit about that to drug court. That's where the money, we're accepting it. Item number 6 is a resolution authorizing the award or of an RFQ and execution of an agreement between Cushman and Wakefield US Inc. and the Board of Hamilton County Commission on behalf of county facilities for professional services for the construction of the new 911 and emergency management agency for $319,000. I love the word new 911 because we needed it badly. Item number 7 is a resolution authorizing the award and execution of an agreement between New Tech Systems Inc. and the board on behalf of Stadia and Parking for Great American Ballpark to get replacements of the speaker, $379,792. Item number 8 is the annexation of acres of land from Harrison Township to the city of Harrison. And that is to be received for the record. Item number 9 is Environmental Services 2023 resolution authorizing agreement between Keep Cincinnati Beautiful and Hamilton County Board of Commissioners on behalf of the Hamilton County Department of Environmental Services Solid Waste Management District for $19,000. This is our tires collection program with Keep Cincinnati Beautiful. Under Human Resources, item number 10 is a resolution giving 15 to 30-day notice of the intent of the purchase department to rehire Gina Richmond as the purchasing agent. 3. Item number 11 is a resolution giving 60-day notice of the intent of the Department of Jobs and Family Services to rehire Sherry Hammonds as a child support technician. And item number 12 is a resolution approving a collaborative agreement with Western Governors University, making Hamilton County employees eligible to apply for a collaborative agreement scholarship in the amount of $2,500 for our employees. We have a similar agreement with the University of Cincinnati, and I think some others that will be coming back soon, so that our employees can go back and get more education. Item number 13 is a resolution authorizing a renewal of number 1 of the original single source agreement with Marie's House of Hope and the Board of Commissioners on behalf of Jobs and Family Services, one of the group homes for $100,000. Item number 14 is authorizing the first renewal to the contract between the Southwest Ohio Region Workforce Investment Board and the Board of Hamilton County Commissioners on behalf of Hamilton County Jobs and Family Services for $658,650. And I understand we also get some reimbursements for that, so that number will come down. Item number 15 is a resolution authorizing renewal of number 1 of the original agreement with Lighthouse Youth Services, DBA, Lighthouse Youth and Family Services, and the Board of Commissioners on behalf of the Department of Jobs and Family Services for $600,000. Then item number 16, on behalf of the sheriff, are a number of liquor licenses that have no objections throughout Hamilton County. 17 is the treasurer's report, monthly investment report for the month of September of 2022. We'll accept that for the record. Travel request to travel at the county's expense. The treasurer, 2 employees to Columbus. We'll accept that for the record. And we already did the buy leaves. So this time I will turn over to Commissioner Dreehouse. I know you had some issues. with
Yeah,
item
I have just two issues.
Sure.
Got some issues. All right, I want to start with item number 5. Item number 5, as you mentioned, is $6.3 million coming to the county through a multitude of grants. And we got a printout of these grants. Many of them are related to addiction response. And there is a team behind these grants that I want to recognize because this is substantial. We've received grants in the past for addiction response, but this is, I think, very notable because of the size of the grants, and Nicole Sanders, the judge, being part of that. So Lisa Webb, Cheryl Floyd, Megan Gosney, Isaiah Lumpkins, and Alexis Deatherich were the team to bring these grants to Hamilton County. And I'm just going to give a very brief overview of what this means and where the money is going. So some of it will, as has been stated, going to drug treatment and the recovery court. By the way, that's a new name, as the judge reminded us today. So it's not just the drug court, it's the drug treatment and recovery court. What is it, 2 million going to that purpose. There is another amount of about 739,000 going to prevention. There is 900,000 going to improving substance use disorder treatment and recovery outcomes for adults in reentry. And then we've got another, the last chunk of money going to deflection, trying to keep folks out of the justice system and get them into a more appropriate path, which is oftentimes treatment. So this is no small task to get these kind of grants into Hamilton County. I believe this amount is unprecedented, and it is to the credit of the team that we have now got this money in Hamilton County to work with to the benefit of our citizens. So I just want to do a big shout out to the team that got those grants to Hamilton County. The second item is, as you mentioned, item number 3. This is the recommendation from the TIRC. And we had a presentation from Alloy. I know Harry Blanton's in the room related to those recommendations. So if you look at the report, there are many businesses in the county to which we offer incentives. And when we do that, we offer incentives, and then the business owners say that they will achieve retained jobs and new jobs. And so we have an outline, we have a length of the agreement, we have a percentage of benefit to the business owners. And so most of those are achieving their goals, and the TIRC recommended that we continue those agreements. There were 2 outliers, however. One was GJ Burkhart Inc. And they were out of compliance when it came to the new jobs. They had retained what they said they would. They're a little under with new jobs, but they are obviously working towards increasing jobs. And so that one was recommended to remain as is. The second one also was recommended by the TIRC to remain as is. Alloy, though, said that we should alter this agreement. The reason being that the number of retained jobs has decreased and the number of new jobs is at 0. And so this board then had a recommendation from the TIRC to continue as is. Alloy said we should basically reduce the number of years for this agreement to 6 from 8, which would have ended the agreement. And so I've talked to a number of people. I did reach out to the chair of the TIRC to get a better understanding of the rationale behind the agreement that they recommended, which was leaving it as is. And what he explained to me was that there is community support for this business. It's a good business. They're located in a township that has benefited from them being there. They're a good community partner. However, the agreement we have is that they have to have met some of these goals and they simply did not. And so I'm trying to thread the needle here on this. And Commissioner Reese, we've reached out to your office and I know you're familiar with this, where instead of taking either of the recommendations, we are saying it was a 50% tax incentive over 8 years. So the board could, we can take that recommendation and moderate it. And so we're not going to end it at 6 years. We're going to extend it for the full 8, but reduce the 50% to 25% so that the incentive is lessened because the business has simply not met the goals of the agreement. So that would be a recommendation that we had, again, discussed through our chiefs as to how we might approach this issue. So that alternative is what now is on our agenda, right? So we've replaced the old with the new. So again, to reiterate, this is Horder Investment Management LLC, and the agreement is for the 8 years that was already in place, but the incentive will be reduced from 50 to 25%.
That is correct. Thank you, Commissioner Dreehouse, for working on this because I was ready to say, it ends right now. So I'm glad you reached out and talked with them. I think it has to be a balance. I think we have to send a message. I want to thank the TIRC because a lot of times that's what the people complain about. We give incentives, but who's checking? And I think it showed that we have folks checking and this board is checking. So I think this is a nice compromise, but I think it's also a good warning shot out there. If you come in and get all these tax incentives, if you will, you got to no more just jumping up saying, we're going to create jobs and then go to bed. We're going to be checking to see if you are doing what you said you're going to do. And maybe you hit a tough time. I think we're fairly fair about the COVID times and those kind of things, but I remember the days everybody get a tax incentive and no one's checking and no jobs. They get an incentive and the next day they laying off people. And then the people would get upset with the elected officials. So I think we are definitely open to expanding and bringing businesses that create jobs and have investment. But we also are checking to make sure that you're doing what you said you're going to do. So I think this is a good compromise at this time, but also we'll be looking again. And if it doesn't meet, then we have to revisit it.
Yeah, and the TIRC does this evaluation every year. And so I too want to thank them for their work. It is just a matter, as you say, of balance. We want to keep businesses in the community, but when we offer incentives, we do expect that the other side of the equation will live up to their part of the bargain. So that's simply, this is a response to that.
Awesome. Any other items, Commissioner Drew? Nope. Okay, so we're gonna go to the consent agenda, if I can get to the front of it. And here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna make a motion to adopt item number 3, 5 through 7, 9. Oh, is that wrong? I'm sorry. Oh, you may have right. You should have said something earlier. We got it. Okay, yes, I love this. Okay, so I move to adopt item number 3. I move to approve item number 3 through 18.
Second.
Commissioner Reese,
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes.
And before we go, Commissioner Dumas sent this note that she would like to have read regarding the passing of Pat Tribby. Here's her words, quote, I've known Pat for many years. I've known Pat for many, many years because of my social work background. Pat said he would be honored for me to speak at the mental health annual meeting this year. I'm so honored that I answered his request and honored to have known him. What a great servant of the people. I can't think of a better legacy to leave to his family and the community. Thank you, Commissioner Summerall Dumas, President of the Board. There's no further business. I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Commissioner Reese.
Yes,
Commissioner Dreehouse.
Yes.
thank you.